It's so interesting that only five spacecraft to date have ventured outside of our solar system, which is outside of the heliosphere, the protective bubble of solar wind and magnetic fields created by our sun. But it is important to note that while these have left the solar system's main influence, they have not yet reached another star system. This is the Astrox Radio slash podcast, episode 2 in 2025, which is a podcast which has a new episode every alternate week. One of the five spacecrafts is Voyager 1. It was launched on September 5th, 1977, and its status is that it's still functioning as an interstellar space. Voyager 1 was the first spacecraft to enter interstellar space, crossing the heliopause on August 25th, 2012. Its primary mission was to explore Jupiter and Saturn, and it provided stunning, detailed images and data from those gas giants and their moons. One of its most significant discoveries was the active volcanoes on Jupiter's moons, Io, the first time volcanoes have been observed on another body besides Earth. The spacecraft is currently the most distant human-made object from Earth. Voyager 2, August 20th, 1977 was launched. Status is that it's still functioning and it's in interstellar space. Launched before its twin, Voyager 2 took a different path, visiting all four gas giants, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. It is the only spacecraft to have flown by Uranus and Neptune, providing invaluable data and close-up images of these icy giants and their moons. Voyager 2 officially entered interstellar space in November 2018, providing the first direct measurements of the density and temperature of the interstellar plasma. Both Voyager spacecraft carry a golden record, a phonograph record containing sounds and images of Earth, intended for any intelligent extraterrestrial life that might find them. Number 3 is Pioneer 10. It was launched on the 2nd of March 1972, but its status is that it's non-functional and is stuck in interstellar space. Pioneer 10 was the first spacecraft to travel through the asteroid belt and the first to make close-up observations of Jupiter. It made this closest approach to Jupiter on December 3rd, 1973, gathering data on the planet's magnetosphere, radiation belts, and atmosphere. The mission ended in 1997, and the last signal from the spacecraft was received in 2003. Pioneer 3 is currently coasting silently through deep space, heading towards the star Aldebaran. It carries a golden plaque with a message from humanity. Number 4 is Pioneer 11, launched April 5th, 1973. Also, it's non-functional and is in interstellar space. Pioneer 11 followed Pioneer 10's path to Jupiter, and then used the planet's gravity to change course and become the first spacecraft to visit Saturn. It provided the first images of close-up on Saturn and its rings and discovered several new moons and a new ring. The last transmission from Pioneer 11 was received in 1995. It too carries a plaque identical to one on Pioneer 10. Number 5. New Horizons. It was launched on January 19th, 2006. Its status is still functioning in the Kuiper Belt, and New Horizons is on its way out of the solar system. But the thing is, it hasn't reached interstellar space. It's a significant mission on this list because it made its first reconnaissance of the Pluto system in 2015. After a successful flyby of non-solar system planet Pluto, New Horizons continued its journey to explore other objects in the Kuiper Belt, a vast ring of icy bodies beyond Neptune. The spacecraft is set to reach a heliopause around 2040. While it is not yet in interstellar space, it is on a trajectory to eventually join the other four probes. This is some really interesting stuff, as 5 spacecraft are basically outside of our solar system, including New Horizons technically, as Pluto officially in 2006 wasn't part, like declared as part of our solar system, which is kind of sad. In my opinion, Pluto should be part of a solar system because it comes relatively close to the sun, like compared to other planets, like compared to like Neptune and stuff, on one side of its orbit, and on the completely other side of its orbit, it's into the Kuiper Belt, like way far into the Kuiper Belt. It's an amazing planet, and it's really nice that New Horizons was sent to go discover it. Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 are the most popular of these two spacecraft because they're still functional, even though they were launched ages ago. And they also have broken a lot of records, as one of the Voyager probes had taken a photo because when Carl Sagan requested NASA to turn the probe back around, well, not to return to Earth, but turn it around and take one last picture of Earth before it continues on its journey outside solar system. And that picture, like image, was nicknamed the pale blue dot. It's one of the most famous space images of all time, and it's really cool. And then the Pioneer 10 and Pioneer 11s, those were the first few, I would say, examples of interstellar probes that they can actually function and that they are a good idea, which had proved the world that this kind of program can continue for on and on. Oh yeah, sorry everyone. I just quickly introduced the podcast and went straight into the stuff. It may feel a bit rushed, and I'm really, really sorry. So we'll take it a little slow on from here. Few things I want to talk about. New Shepard rocket especially is that New Shepard underutilized. And it's also a stupid idea. I know, it's so conflicting my mind always. So New Shepard, tourism rocket. But space tourism just seems like a waste. We're already wasting so much money. And another waste on space tourism, you'd have to use so much propellant and also waste so many employees' time just for a bit of space tourism. I feel like on the New Shepard, all the budget going to that, all the money spent for that from the passengers that have gone on board, etc., could be taken to New Glenn, more budgeting to New Glenn. And then they could actually help the space society and get more discoveries or make more satellites that can actually help. Getting satellites that can capture lightning strikes, see where they are going to strike and see if those lightning strikes can make fires, etc. And yet still, they're not doing that. And it's really interesting to me. My favorite rocket always is currently Electron. I don't know if Neutron will take that throne, as it's an interesting rocket because it launches from the United States. And it's becoming like every other space company, launching from United States. Just like ULA, Blue Origin, SpaceX, NASA, etc. I just feel like they should go more multinational, as Electron launches rarely from the United States and mostly always from the Mahaya Peninsula in New Zealand. And I feel like they should also send off Neutron down there. So this is the end of part 1 of this podcast. See you in part 2 after a short break. Okay, we're back for part 2 now, and we have 2 main things to cover. First of all, an Astrolixi Pico OS devlog as a main one, and then secondary thing is to cover my opinion on the current spacesuit technology. So let's go on to the Astrolixi devlog, shall we? Okay, so I am going to release version beta of my operating system, or beta, depends on what you say, very, very soon, and I incredibly cannot wait, but there are so many issues I'm occurring. So do you know when you use a command line, and you use the up and down arrow to cycle through your command history while you're on the command line? If you don't, just get a life. Oh, sorry. So I'm trying to do that, but on the Pico calc. And I wanted that if you do shift plus up or down arrow, it will cycle through the history. I've been trying to do that, but just won't work. I can't find the key codes that the Pico calc reads for the shift key and the up and down arrow keys, which is really hard to find. I I've contacted the driver developer, and I'll see what I can do with his response. And it's kind of annoying as this would be a really useful feature, but it's really annoying that I can't get this working. And I've tried so many different types of key codes from like ASCII and like way more other things, which makes it incredibly annoying because I've tried so many things. And if the answer is so simple, I would be really frustrated. Later on, I also need to implement a feature where you can use the arrow keys without shift or control or anything, just arrow keys, to move the cursor around the screen, to scroll also on the screen. This feature will take a really long to make because scrolling will be really hard to program in. And I know I've said I was ahead in my recent devlog of like schedule, and I might be able to I would be able to release on time, but there's a chance I might have to delay it. Just a chance. Maybe by a week or two. But I'm aiming for the end of this month I can release it. Around 26th or 27th. And I've made a thing where it saves credentials, like password and username, to a file and accesses those when you log in. So instead of being admin and admin, you can set your own username and password and use those. And when you enter the password, like at the first boot up, all the password will be replaced with asterisks because it'll be hashed so other people can't see if you're around them. After version beta releases or beta, I will release the first actual version after like a month or two, and that version will have a lot more features like actual running apps, like you can run apps, different types, such as like programming apps and all that. And they'll be all run through Python, and then you could probably run Python code on it too, but those are going to be quite big projects to do. And then after that, there'll be second and third and fourth and fifth version. And after that, I plan on getting free contributors, any contributors on the forums or something like that, to start continue contributing for Ashlixi Pico OS. And while I start porting this operating system, I'm making it way, way better before the Luckfox Lyra, which is a Pico form factor board, but with 120-ish megabytes of RAM, 3 cores of CPU, with one of them being at 1 gigahertz, which is really powerful. And I think I can make use of that really well. The code for my operating system is over around 1,200 lines long, probably longer, and it's taken me really long to make. So to contribute to my channel and the operating system, please subscribe. And let's get back to the podcast. I really appreciate the drivers that Blair Leduc has made. Sorry for a wrong pronunciation if I did, but they are amazing. They have so many features. Each of them on average are at least 500, 600 lines long, and there's so many of them. There's a header file and then the normal C file, and he's done an amazing job on them. Shout out to him. And it's amazing job people have done on the forums. They've helped me along the way and gave me advice, which has helped me make this operating system work as it should. So shout out to them all. Also, once version beta is released of my operating system, all my devlogs, there'll be a devlog for the release, and then after that, there'll be no more devlogs as YouTube Shorts. Maybe the occasional one, but not that many. All of the devlogs will be probably a short 3-minute segment in this podcast. So if you usually watch your shorts, just make sure to stay tuned in this podcast instead of the shorts for the devlogs, because I'll probably give more information in this bi-weekly podcast. I've recently seen a person on the Clockwork Pi forums in the Pico Calc section make a thread about Rusty Calc. I thought he was just going to do some hardware modifications and make it look old school. But then I clicked on the thread and I saw amazing stuff. Amazing work. So most of you know the programming language Rust. Or if you don't, it's a programming language. And this person has made basically an operating system. He says it's very, very work in progress, but it already looks amazing. It's just operating system made in Rust, but it has a GUI, so a graphical user interface. That's my dream, and that's probably what I'm gonna have with the Luckfox Lyra operating system I'm gonna work on, but not this one. This one will be probably pure CLI. I don't know, maybe not, but it's amazing with a minimum like the RAM constraints and all that. I don't know if this person is doing it with the Luckfox Lyra, but still, amazing work. And Rust, doing it with Rust is quite well, as most people on the forums use the program language C, which I also use. Let's move on to the topic of my opinion on the current spacesuit technology. The current spacesuit technology is good. Well, it's okay. All the spacesuits are still very rigid and things. Even the Axiom one, which looked really cool, and even SpaceX's ones, they're all rigid. Like during demonstrations, they always carry around a pole for like support because it's really hard. Even though they're going to be using it in 1/6 of Earth's gravity, or even less. I don't know, or more. I don't know, because 1/6 is the moon's gravity. It's still going to be quite rigid and hard to work with. Like those puffy gloves, what kind of science experiments can you do with them outside? And the helmets, they're also bulky, and the backpacks too. The backpacks are so bulky, like overly bulky, that I feel like they need to do something about that. I know they got to carry oxygen, water, systems, all of that, but they need to figure out a way to pressurize oxygen more, or figure out a way to make like some mini oxygenator system, which absorbs the CO2 that the astronaut breathes out and takes oxygen from that and keeps reusing it for as much as they can. And then the carbon can be used for something else. That's like a great idea. It's probably a few years ahead of right now. But if they put more budget towards these kind of things like spacesuits, they would be very, very good and it would help them for future missions. And if they put budget in now, in the future, they wouldn't have to put as much budget in to like for spacesuits, as they've already done so much development on that and research, so R&D. But and then they could spend more money on the rocket and the other things of the mission, like the probe. That gets me to another thing. Always there's probes stuffed in probes there are always spacesuits stuffed inside, which take up a lot of space. They need to do something about that too. Like, really, does a spacesuit have to be in the pressurized area? They could probably put it in some unpressurized area with some of the other cargo that's not pressurized, as it's already exposed to the harsh vacuum of space during spacewalks. Why can't it be during launch? And because it takes up so much valuable area in the crew capsule, that they need to do something about that urgently. Well, not urgently, but you get what I mean, don't you? Well, that was a very short segment about that spacesuit. I now want to talk about my opinion on Android. Yes, Android. Android, the operating system on phones. It takes up a lot of RAM. Like on Idle on my phone, it says 4 point something gigabytes of RAM out of the 8 I have being used all the time. Just running Android on my home screen. No apps open in the background, nothing. It's so insane. Yes, I turned RAM plus off, which is swap memory, which is where you use some of your storage as RAM, because I turned it off because it keeps accessing storage, which is really bad for your your SSD, and you don't want your SSD to age really fast. So I turned that off because I don't do much intensive tasks. But I just feel like this RAM that it uses is kind of unnecessary. Like, I don't need some of the features in the background that they have, like Gemini in the background. Like, I rarely use Gemini, and I don't need it to be running in the background doing some phone diagnostics or whatever. I just need it to be low RAM while doing everything it needs to do, and some extras. And then the deep sleeping and sleeping apps features on Samsung phones, great. But not all apps can be deep slept or slept, which is kind of okay. Okay, that was another short segment, but let's move on to part 3 after another short break. Welcome back to part 3. We have a few things to talk about, including some quick space news of like Rocket Lab launches coming up and things like that, and a really quick Astrox devlog. there might also be some other stuff. So let's get right back in. Let's start with the Astrolixy devlog, as I really gotta quickly tell you guys this. So it's been a week since I recorded part 2, and I've gotta admit some things and updates for some things. So I'm trying to make this thing for command cycling, where if you do shift plus up or down arrow, you'll cycle through your most recently used commands in the command line. Similar to how in like Windows command line or like Mac OS command line, use the up and down arrow to cycle through most recently used commands. But in this case, you're going to be using shift with it. And I've been trying for the last like 5 days to make this work, and it just won't decide to work. It's the code's building with no errors and all that, but the command cycling itself isn't working. So I really gotta fix this. And then I'm also going to, just before I release version beta, I also need to make a thing where if you use left and right arrow, it'll move the cursor across the command line. So like you can move it and then like edit something and then move it back. Something like that. And then for version, like the first actual version, after version beta, I probably won't release the first actual version until December, like late December. Yeah, December. I would say early December, mid-December. This is because I'm going to add a lot in like first actual version, which includes running apps, making your own apps, like coding, like for in Python, etc., which is going to take me really, really long to do. So yeah, it will take a while. Okay, let's do some space news from space.com. Number 1. Blue Origin launches 35th New Shepard flight after long delay. Liftoff of the uncrewed mission occurred at 9:01 a.m. EDT today, September 18th. Well, not really today anymore, when like this podcast releases, but today when I'm recording. Blue Origin launched its 35th New Shepard suborbital mission after a nearly 4-week delay. The uncrewed flight, known as NS-35, lifted off today from Blue Origin's West Texas site at 9:01 a.m. EDT. Instead of a crew, the Blue Origin capsule carried more than 40 scientific payloads on its suborbital flight, including 24 payloads from the NASA Tech Rise Student Challenge, which empowers teams of 6 to 12th graders to design, build, and launch experiments on NASA-supported test flights. New Shepard consists of a first stage rocket and a capsule, both of which are reusable. Flights of the vehicle get above the Kármán line, the widely recognized boundary where space begins, at 62 miles up, also known as 100 kilometers, and last 10 to 12 minutes from liftoff to capsule touchdown. After successful launch, the New Shepard booster descended for a safe landing 2 miles downrange of the launch pad, about 7.5 minutes after liftoff. The capsule descended on the parachutes for touchdown at T plus 10 minutes and 15 seconds. Now let's move on to our second space news. Northrop Grumman, biggest ever cargo spacecraft, arrives at the ISS on its debut mission. I had talked about this in my recent space news YouTube short. Go check that out. The new jumbo version of the Cygnus spacecraft delivered about 11,000 pounds of cargo to the orbiting lab this morning. September 18th, the day I'm recording. The debut mission of Northrop Grumman's new jumbo cargo spacecraft is going well. The Virginia-based company, first Cygnus XL freighter, arrived at the ISS early on September 18th morning after a 1-day delay. The key moment came at 7:24 a.m. EDT, when NASA astronaut Johnny Kim used the orbiting lab's Canadarm2 robotic arm to grapple the Cygnus as the ISS flew about 260 miles, around 420 kilometers, above the Democratic Republic of Congo. The Cygnus XL lifted off Sunday evening, riding a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket into the skies from Florida's Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. The launch kicked off the 23rd cargo mission that Northrop Grumman has flown to the ISS for NASA, which explains its name, NG-23. Not everything went smoothly. The Cygnus XL was supposed to reach the ISS on Wednesday morning, so September 17th, but that plan was scuttled by a thruster issue. The Cygnus team overcame that problem, however, and got the freighter on track for a one-day late rendezvous. It's a very intricate planning exercise that we have to go through to arrive at space station and rendezvous in a very specific point in space, Bill Spetz said, which is NASA's ISS Operations Integration Manager, during the Thursday morning docking broadcast. NG-23 is special for several reasons. For starters, it's the first mission of Cygnus XL, which can carry considerably more cargo than previous Cygnus iterations. NG-23 just hauled about 11,000 pounds, which is 4,990 kilograms, to the International Space Station, compared to roughly 8,500 pounds, which is 3,855 kilograms, on earlier Cygnus flights. This is absolutely insane. Imagine a cargo spacecraft that big hauling so much payload. This is really, really cool. Also, a bit off topic to what I usually talk about on my channel. Have you guys heard of the new Meta Ray-Ban glasses that recently came out? They have a small screen on the right hand side of your eye, I'm pretty sure. So like in the glasses, which you can see weather, messages, etc. And like map navigation and all that. But it's all integrated with Meta stuff. So you can only use like Meta based apps, or like WhatsApp, Facebook, all of the Meta side apps, just not like normal messages. And obviously you need your phone to connect to it. It's not yet the dream of Meta and Ray-Ban, where it's like a standalone device where you won't even need a phone to connect to it. That's still long off. But it's still really, really epic. It can do a lot, but I still wonder about its battery life. It has a really big battery on the, not really hinge, but on the thing that goes above your ear. It has a really big battery there. And it should have, I would hope it has like 6 hours of battery life. Or else it kind of seems useless if you have to charge it like every 2 hours. In other things, there's also been the iPhone 17 event, which has released the iPhone 17, the iPhone Air, not iPhone 17 Air, just iPhone Air, and then iPhone 17 Pro and iPhone 17 Pro Max. Also, it's released the Apple Watch SE 3, Apple Watch Series 11, Apple Watch Ultra 3, and it's released the AirPods Pro 3. A lot of 3s and lots of 17s. It's cool, but not that cool, because it's Apple. And the Air seems kind of stupid, because why would you want such a thin phone? Thin phones would feel so weird to like hold, and most people would just slap a case onto it. And Apple is even giving the external battery for the iPhone Air, which you can just like stick on for wireless charging. That means they know the battery life won't be good. And adding that external battery makes the thickness of the phone not feel as thin anymore, and it kind of just ruins the point of it. And then about the watches, I currently have an Apple Watch SE 2, even though I have a Samsung phone, but the SE 2 is quite good, and apparently the SE 3 is so similar to the Series 11 watch that most people should just go for the SE 3. The Apple Watch Ultra 3 is similar to the Apple Watch Ultra 2, not much changes there, but lots of people are saying that the AirPods Pro 3 is amazing noise cancellation. Not much difference to how it sounds, but the noise cancellation is known to be incredible. So thanks for joining me on this episode of Astrox Podcast, episode 2 in 2025, and I hope you have a good one. Enjoy!